All right, welcome to session 5. Why we need God's help. This is the spiritual perspective or side of pornography, okay? And I want you to understand this. This is where I see the root problem. This is where we need to ask for God's help. This is where when I talk to guys, when they say, help me on my pornography issue, Lyndon, I say to them, we need a heart transformation. You need a heart transformation. We need God to get involved, because if we really want lifelong change, only God can make this happen. Okay, and I'll explain that further. So why we need God's help? Why we need God's help? And I want to say this. Pornography is rooted in our idolatry. Okay, you may think this is spiritual, but all of us are idol worshiper. We worship something. We find something to satisfy us. And according to Romans 1, we serve or we worship created things instead of the Creator. We substitute God for created things. And I will show you in a few minutes how pornography is a substitute. It's a lie that we follow instead of pursuing God. Because you and I want to be satisfied. And we think other things will satisfy us. Created things will satisfy us. But in our hearts of heart, only God, the living God, satisfies us. So I want you to understand that. Here's a verse in Jeremiah. It says, "For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living water, and hewed out cisterns for themselves, broken cisterns that hold no water." So the two idea here is, one, they have forsaken the one that will satisfy them. They have forsaken God. When we pursue pornography, we have forsaken God. And what do? We have hewed out cisterns. We have created systems. We have created containers. We have created something, and it's called pornography, to satisfy us. And instead of satisfying us, it destroys us. And instead of giving us satisfaction, it's a lie. It's destroying us. And I'm trying to tell you, men, that this is very, very important to understand, because you think that porn will satisfy you. Here's a graph from one of my favorite graphs from Tim Chester's book, Closing the Window. It's the idea of, here's the promises that porn makes, and the heart behind that, and that God is better. Okay, God is better. Okay, here's the promises that porn makes. And this is really good. And I will tell you a little later in one of my sessions in how to help men, is that I want to help them understand what are the triggers that they draw into porn. Okay, porn is not necessarily the main reason why people go to. It's a trigger. There's a trigger, something within their hearts that they're looking for, that they think porn will satisfy. And I explain that deeper when I walk with men through this. But here it is in a summary. Sometimes we men, we want respect. We want respect. We have an inadequate and fear of rejection. We feel being rejected. So that's why we want to be respected. And guess what porn does? Every single woman will respect you. In fact, she'll want to be with you. You won't be rejected by a video, okay? You get the point there. Sometimes when we feel like we're rejected by somebody, in our wife, then we go to a work situation. You feel rejected there. You feel broken in that. Instead of going to God, we go to pornography to fill us, to make us feel accepted, okay? Instead, and number two, sometimes we feel porn promises a relationship that we can have. We fear not being intimate with somebody. Okay, so we go to pornography and we feel like this woman I'm intimate with, I'm close to them. When it's a lie, it's fake, it's not really true. Another ones, we go to pornography because we want to find refuge. So for example, we feel like there's a lot of pressure in my life right now. There's a test that I have to take. Men have literally told me they go to pornography when they have pressure at their work, or they go to pornography because they have to do a presentation coming up, or they go to a pornography because they have this looming thing that they're afraid of, and they just want to find relief. They would just want to find relief in this hardship. And guess what they go to? They go to pornography. And so what I'm trying to share with you men right now is I want you to understand there are triggers in our lives that we go to pornography, we're tempted to pornography instead of dealing with it, instead of going to God. Another one, we feel we want reward because we're bored. Boredom, guys. Some guys have told me they go to pornography because they're so bored in their life. They want some excitement. So they want a reward, or they've sacrificed something and they didn't get the reward that they want. And so, hey, I want to satisfy myself. So they go to pornography. So do you get that? Sometimes you get rejected from a job promotion, or you get rejected from a date, and then you go to pornography. Sometimes it's revenge because you feel like, you know what, I deserve this. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, and I just want to get back on my wife, and so I'm going to go to pornography. Or I hate what somebody did to me. I want to revenge them. Or I hate that God did this to me, and then I'm going to go to pornography. So they're finding this, it's like a revenge factor. And then last one is redemption. You feel guilt, and you just want to remove that guilt. So you go to pornography to find that satisfaction. And I want to say, out of all of these things, every one of them is a lie. And instead of going to God, we go to created things like pornography. When God, instead of feeling rejection, God says, we should be the only one that He fears. And when we fear the intimacy, God says, I am sovereign over all your relationship. When we have hardships, God saying, I am great. I am your fortress. I am your shield. I can take care of you. Don't fear. Come to me. And instead of boredom, God says, I am good. I satisfy you, and I give you ultimate and everlasting joy. And then instead of being angry and frustrated, God says, I'm gracious to you. I will forgive you. I will give you more than what you deserve. And instead of feeling guilt, God says, I am gracious. I'm the one who has atoned for your sin. I sent my son to live the life that you should have lived and died the death that you should have died. My point in all this is God, we need to see past the lies of pornography and see that God is bigger and better than what pornography offers. That's my challenge. Men, we have to see this. Because we fall into pornography is because we have brokenness in each of us. And instead of going to God, we go to these broken cisterns that not only hold no water, but they hold us in bondage. So I want to encourage you, men, to become more aware of how pervasive pornography is and how false the promises that pornography gives. Okay? And I want to say, this one is a little complicated here. This is, bear with me here. Stay with me here. Here's why pornography, working harder to remove pornography doesn't work. That's why I said to men when you need a transformed heart. And I want to explain this to you. We need a transformed heart. It's not about working harder. In fact, when I look at pornographic programs, anti-pornographic programs, and when I look at them out there, I always will look at these signs that if you just have to work harder, you just have to do this, you just have to do this, those things eventually don't work. Why? And here's why. I wanna explain the Romans chapter 7, the law of sin and death. This is Paul, and when he's already a Christian, and he struggled with this sin that's pervasive in his life. And I want to read it here. Romans chapter 7, starting with verse 14. We know that the law is spiritual, but I am unspiritual, sold to slave to sin. I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate to do. And if I do what I do not want to do, I agree with the law that the law is good. As it is, It is no longer I myself who do it, but it is sin living in me. For I know that good itself does not dwell in me, that is, in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do. This I keep on doing. Now I do what I do not want to do, for it is no longer I who do it, but it is sin living in me that does it. So I find the law at work. Although I want to do good, evil is right there with me. For in my inner being, I delight in God's law, but I see another law at work in me, waging war against the law of my mind and making me a prisoner of the law of sin at work within me. And then he says this, verse 24, what a wretched man I am, because of this battle within him. And he says, who will rescue me from this body that is subject to death? And what is this answer in verse 25? Thanks be to God who delivers me through Jesus Christ our Lord. Did you get that? This is not about salvation. This is about holiness. This is about growing in grace. And Paul says, I have this battle within me. Who's going to rescue me? Who's going to help me? Who's going to make me holy? And Paul says, thanks be to Jesus Christ. We need Jesus Christ to work in us. Here's the problem with works-oriented programs that help us battle pornography. Here's how it works, okay? You work real hard to battle pornography, and guess what? You conquer it to a certain point. You conquer it. But who conquered it? You conquered it. And guess what? That is your sinful nature growing. Pride starts to grow in you and me. And then pride will eventually lead you again back to the same destruction. It'll beat you down because you didn't do it in the power of the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ. You did it in your own strength. This is the difference between a lot of the pornography programs that are out there and what we pursue here at Lifeline. We want God to transform your heart. We want Jesus Christ to work in you. We want Jesus Christ to transform you fully, okay? And here's a couple of verses here. For the law of the Spirit of the life of life in Jesus Christ has made me free from the law of sin and death. Jesus Christ, Spirit living within me, is one that makes me free. Romans 6:14 says, for sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under the law, but under grace. When you do it in your own strength, you are still under the law. When you do it by God's grace and His transforming power, it is the working of God and His Spirit within you. And I just close this session by reminding people, we want to fill our hearts with things of the world. We think it's created things that will fill us. When Jesus Christ says He will fill our deepest desires. Don't go to pornography, men. Go to Jesus. He says, I am the bread of life. I will satisfy you and nurture your nourishment in your heart and your mind. I am the light of the world. I will give you the perspective of this world. I am the door of the sheep. I am the way that you can follow. I am the resurrection and the life. I will give you new life and new being. I am the good shepherd. I will lead you. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the vine. I will nourish you. And this is what we want to say, that Jesus will be the only thing that satisfies you. You need to find Jesus instead of pornography. You need to reject the lies of what pornography is as and pursue that Jesus is always bigger and better than everything that you'll ever need. This is the heart of what we believe will help you ultimately with your pornography problem. And if you're not doing it for yourself, doing it for your spouse, doing it for your family, do it for God. All right. God bless you. Join me in the next session.